This is George Dionne with Metal Express Radio. I am here with Twan Holliday of Saints of Death. How you doing, Twan?
Hey, how are you, brother? I'm doing good, thank you.
So if I knew absolutely nothing about Saints of Death, how would you describe the band's music to me?
That's what I'd say. Saints of Death is a little slash of the Motorhead and splash of Pantera.
Sure. Definitely not the beginning Pantera.
No.
When they came out with the hair metal stuff.
No. The Far Beyond Driven and stuff like that.
Absolutely. You recently released your first full-length album, Ascend to the Throne. Let's talk a little bit about each song. Is this album a whole story, or is it kind of like each holds on its own and then kind of comes together?
We could say each holds on its own and kind of comes together. The songs are basically, just our struggle. Ascend to the Throne is kind of like our song for our band and the struggles we had. We had a few hard years. One of my close family, my wife had cancer, really bad cancer for a couple of years. So that was a struggle. And we went through about 20 different band members during that time. So it was a real struggle. And this is kind of our song to us and anybody else, or, it's just struggling. And, you can ascend, you can get to the goals that you want if you just stand up and fight for them, man. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. This is a bit of our struggle. It has probably a different meaning to everybody else, the way they hear it and understand it. But for us, it's about our struggle, our inner struggle that we've had, and our ascend to the throne. Not that we're going to be on the kings of the throne, but just our ascend, our one step at a time. If you look at the album cover, you can see the four dudes at the bottom, and they're just each on a different step. And that's kind of like how we perceive our life. We're all of us, not just the band. And we're all just struggling, trying to get to the next step in life, to try and better ourselves, to try and ascend to the throne that we want to be happy in our lives and just be content with ourselves and our surroundings.
I was going to say, where you've described that song as being so personal and what it was to you, it instantly took on a different meaning to me when I listened to it.
Well, when you listen to it, it really doesn't sound like that. There's, war drums of Hades and all this stuff. But that was our inner struggle song, kind of, you know what I mean? Where we really had to buckle down. And it was at a point where, are we going to, continue on with this? Because we were struggling so much, and my family was sick, and it was a whole mess. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's talk about Watching Me Die.
Watching Me Die. I used to be a professional wrestler, and
Yep.
I struggle a bit. I have a lot of head trauma, and I struggle a bit with a few, thoughts in my head that are not healthy. And I take some natural pills to help, fish oils and stuff like that to help. But that was one of the songs that, to me, it seems like we're just all so wrapped up in our own shit that we really can't see other people. And, the struggle that I have, the struggle that other people have in their lives, like watching me die, watching others die, or watching our planet die, and it's easy to say, and I catch myself doing it sometimes too. It's easy to say we have to show respect and try and love each other and, understand that everybody is going through a struggle. But sometimes, we forget and we lash out at other people. And that song was just kind of like, just watching me die as the world goes on, watching them die as everything crumbles, or watching the, Mother Earth die as we just, go get our crap a latte or whatever it may be. You know what I mean?
So does God Can't Help You now kind of tie into Watching Me Die, I guess?
Yeah. When we used to jam those songs, and when we do play them live, we play them together. Right. So it kind of one flows right into the other. We don't stop. It's kind of like two songs in one. So yeah, those two kind of flow together. God Can't Help You Now, the same type of thing, all the wars you wage in the name of peace. So that was my thing about, and then you stand on your thing and, say you're Christian and love everybody, or, you're a God lover and all that stuff. And I don't think if that's the way it is, God's not going to help you, man. Your God is not going to help you. So that was the thing, And I worked on movie sets a lot too, and I used to yell at on movie sets quite a bit. God can't help you now. And then we turned it into a song, and yeah.
How about Repentance?
Repentance. That was another song from me struggling. again, with, you know, I have my head trauma with wrestling. I took a lot of hits in the head, and I had some bleeding in my skull. I still have a spot where there's some dried up blood where my brain was rattled inside of my head. And I really struggled a few times in my life with really, you know, not feeling well in my head because of it. And I didn't understand why I was going through it before I got an MRI on my head. And then they told me, you know, you knocked your brain around a bit, bud. But that song was just the struggles of, man, you know, what we do and what we go through in life, you know. Sometimes we do need some repentance, you know, and sometimes we do need some fucking love and some fucking, you know, just to fucking have somebody tell you that, you know, it's going to be okay. Will be okay, you know. And that song took some time for us to write because we had the music, but it just took some time to get all the words and everything because it had some feeling. Again, another song that had some feeling to me, and it was just, it's a struggle for everybody, and we all need to understand that and try and realize that, right? Even the lady at the grocery store, you know, she could be struggling too, you know, and be a dick because they don't have, you know, your certain kind of fucking cream or whatever, you know. And that was, you know, my struggle. The first line of that song was my struggle and my, you know, is this the end of my life or is this some crazy dream? Because it was just, before I figured out what was going on in my head, before the doctors did, it was really, sometimes it'd be really confusing, and I would just, you know, I didn't understand and I couldn't put it together, and it was hard for me. So yeah, that was another struggle song.
I wanted to do a brief aside here. You know, I listened to your album, and to me, it seemed like a lot of anger, but talking to you, it seems more of getting anger off your shoulders, getting the stuff that's frustrating you off your shoulders. So I have to say I'm glad that we're talking about the meanings of the songs, because they're totally reshaping how I looked at the songs when I first listened to them.
Right on. We say that when we're going through the songs, it's like, you know, and we say this is like for repentance, for example, right? When you listen to it, it sounds angry. It sounds like, you know, you want to, you know, and at the end it ramps up and gets all aggro, but it's a song where it's somebody's really struggling, you know, and like I said before, everybody takes their own meaning out of things, and they probably think everything that I say is aggro and has a lot of, but every show that we say, I tell everybody that we have to be kinder to each other, and I try and do that. And I fail myself. I mean, we all do. We're only human, right? I've had my freakouts at people and yelled at a guy last week because he was parked in front of my parking spot when I went to the grocery store, you know, and I still got to apologize to him when I see him, but it's the struggles that we have. And I know everybody, like, they hear the songs and it sounds like it's just, you know, but we always tried to put a message in our songs, even though, you know, they're kind of hidden. Like, you know, you say you thought the songs were all aggro, but we always try and tell a story, or, you know what I mean? Like, I've known quite a few bands, and I've been in a few bands where the guy comes with the lyrics and they're just a bunch of words that, you know, they all go together, but they're really not telling a story, and they sound cool together, but it's just a bunch of shit that he's just ribbled down on a page or written out of his thesaurus. You know what I mean? What I wanted to do, and again, back to the kind of Motorhead, the older Led Zeppelin too, they told stories, Deep Purple, all the shit, right? All those older, but they tell stories in their songs, right? And I know it's, you know, it's different stories I'm telling about the war drums of Hades and fucking death and destruction and your God can't help you. But I'm still trying to tell a story that all the shitty things that you do, your God's not going to help you. You know what I mean? Or, you know, you're watching me die. You're watching the world die. You're watching them die. And we're not fixing any of our problems, you know?
So I was going to say with Can't Run, is that kind of, you have to face your problems head on?
Yeah. Also, that one was kind of a sillier song, a lighter hearted song. I haven't been in a few years. I'm an actor and a stuntman on movie sets. I did a movie in Prague with Daryl Hannah called The Devil's Ground. I played twins and I killed everybody. And usually the stuff that I do, I'm the murderer, the killer, the bouncer. I was in the Metallica movie. I'm the guy that gives the kid the gas can. I was the bouncer, or the bodyguard, or whatever you want to call it. So that's usually the roles that I get, right? Obviously, looking at me, I'm 6'8" and not that attractive. So I get the big scary roles, and that was just a kind of a silly, fun song. But it doesn't sound like it's silly fun, but it was just a song that I wrote, rewrote, sorry.
Are you still acting?
I am, but I took some time off and to get my regroup everything, right? So I do have an agent now, and I got to get headshots, and I got to redo the whole thing again and then get back into it. But yeah, I've been out of the game for a few years. I had to regroup. I had to just pretty much shut everything down and then just regroup my life, right? So
you're definitely not still wrestling, I gather.
No, the doctor says I can't take any more hits in the head, so I'm probably not going to be wrestling. I'd like to go back, but I don't want to take the chance of getting brain dead. It was a lot of fun. I did it for 10 years. I went to the WWF, had a tryout, met Vince McMahon. They wanted me to go. At their developmental camp, and I talked to Tom Pritchard at the time. He was running the head office. But my son at the time, my unborn son from my first wife, he needed 3 heart operations at the time. So that was 14 years ago now. So at the time I never went because I wanted to stay in, which I don't regret the decision at all, because it's a lot of work, man. They pretty much own your soul when you go to the WWF. But I was grateful, and that I even got the opportunity to go to the dance, and to meet these people and see these people and to, have a tryout with them. I was pretty blessed, and I'm pretty.
Absolutely. I mean, you sound like you've been through some struggles, but you come out on top. And I mean, I think that's common for a lot of people. Just people don't really freely talk about, their struggles. They talk about their highs. Nobody wants to talk about their lows. And I think that the more, as us as a society, and I'm kind of getting away from the music aspect of this interview, but I think more of a society, as we talk about our problems, people kind of see like, well, that guy's struggling like me, or this woman's struggling like me. And, it's normal to have these struggles and kind of feel hopeless and kind of overcome that and see that you can get, over that. I mean,
the only time that, people really come together, and you can see it in America right now too, is they're not really coming together. But when 9/11 happened, they all came together as a country. You know what I mean? They all helped each other, and that's when people, I find anyways, when, like you said, when you can open up and tell your struggles more. Yes. And that's when people come together more, because they can relate to you and understand what you have gone through as a human being, not just, oh, fuck you, asshole, fuck. You know what I mean? That's what I think anyways, when we can really start connecting as human beings, because now we know that we're all struggling. You know what I mean? He's struggling too, and this guy's struggling over here, and she's struggling, and that young teenager is struggling over there, And I think the more we can open up about this stuff, I know nobody likes to talk about it, and it took me a while to talk about my head stuff too, right? I didn't want anybody to know that I had been bonked on the head too many times, and sometimes I forget things and words get mixed up in my thing. And, people make fun of me. You can't read. Blah, blah. And for a long time, I didn't want anybody to know that, I was kind of dyslexic and I've taken too many hits on the head. But when you start opening up and telling people, then, people can start relating and understanding to your situation. That's what I think.
All right, let's get back to happy music again. Why the 8-string bass?
Something a little different. Since I was a kid or teenager, obviously listening to Motorhead, that raunchy bass, right? And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to have the band that had the 2 bass players in it, because every band is always like 2 guitar players, lead guitar players, the guitar player, always the guitar player, and any of the bands I was in before, it was always, the guitar player. And not that I want to take anything away from the guitar player, because they're great. I love the leads. I love guitars. I love that crunchy tone and everything. But I just wanted I wanted something that was more bass, orientated for the bass guitar. It was a struggle. Now I play through Guitar Gear, so I'm not really playing through my bass guitar plays through a guitar rig instead of a bass rig, right? So I'm kind of more leaning towards the guitar sound of the bass, right?
What inspired the band's name?
That was Mexican folklore from Santa Muerta. I'd gone down to Mexico, and I'm a native Canadian as well. I'm interested in my native Cree culture and the Mexican Aztec and all that stuff. And I was reading up, and we were reading up on it as a band, and then just the name Santa Muerta, Saint Death. She's the Saint Death. And we started looking into it, and I was like, man, that's a cool name. And then that was it. And then there was a band in Mexico, obviously already called Santa Muerta. So that's where we just changed it to Saints of Death.
So is the makeup that you guys wear on stage, is that indicative of this cultural thing in Mexico?
No, not so much. In the beginning, I was the only one that wanted to do the makeup thing. Our drummer did too, Chris, but I couldn't get the other guys into it. It took a long time to get I always wanted to do makeup because to me it's not makeup, it's my war paint, you know what I mean? It's my native war paint, and when I go out on that stage, I'm going to war. I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to put out all my energy. I'm going to war. Like I said, I was the first. I used to just blacken my eyes when I first started, and the guys really weren't, the other guys we had in the band at the time. The original guitar player, he just wasn't into and it took a long time to find the right guys, because you tell them this is what we're doing, and they jam with you for 5 or 6 months, and then they tell you after 6 months they'd be like, well, I'm not going to wear any of the makeup. Why didn't you tell me this 6 months ago, dude?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was it. I always wanted that from the beginning, but it just took some time and to find the right guys because to me, it's a show. I want to put on a show. I want people it's a show, man. Even the name itself, we're going to the show, it's not watching 4 guys stand on stage and, jerk each other off while they're fucking, oh, look at my solo. It's a show. When we used to wrestle too, that was the thing as well that they had taught us in wrestling when we did our training, was you're taking them on a roller coaster ride of emotions, happy, sad, you know what I mean? If you're the bad guy, you're showing that, you're beating up the good guy and they hate you and they're aggro, and then the good guy finally gets you and they're all happy. Hey, you got one coming to you fucker. You know what I mean? So you're taking them on this ride of emotions that's fucking happy, sad, scared, frightened. Is that guy going to be okay? You know what I mean? And that's not that we take it to that extent, but that's the kind of thing we've wanted to do with our music and our stage show. We've really tried to connect with the audience and just take them on a ride, with us. Like for that hour is just come for a ride with us and see our world for a bit and the struggles that we have. And
that's all I got for you today, Twan. Thanks for speaking with Metal Express Radio today.
Thank you, George. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you so much.